Professor Broussard.
Everybody called it the Chiefs bye week. It's kind of the rest of the NFL's bye week because the one less week you have to play Kansas City.
Because I give the grade to the Cowboys.
I spent the weekend with my kids.
And one of the toughest things about being a professor,
Drake May's debut and my weekend with the kids was very similar.
is when the people you're grading don't do well.
Moments of, wow, this is perfect.
Caleb, 4 touchdowns, could have been 5. What a performance, 4-2.
Moments of, that was a terrible decision you just made.
And you gotta drop the hammer!
My belief the Cowboys could beat the Lions, not good.
It's not fun. It's painful.
One of my 2 colleagues had that game exactly right, and I will give them their flowers.
Moments of, you know what? All part of the learning process.
Good day, should be fun. Oh, and huge show
Moments of real joy.
on after the NLCS.
But it must be done. So out of sheer duty, out of sheer responsibility, I'm gonna drop that hammer like it's hot on the Cowboys.
Okay. First things first isn't on until later. You can see will not be on at 3 p.m. They're going to be on after the conclusion of game 2. So that's not for a long time. So we'll have to wait for some more first things first content. But I did want to point out, I thought it was really funny that Nick actually predicted that the Dallas Cowboys were going to win the game. They were going to beat the Detroit Lions. And he said, if they beat the Detroit Lions, that proves that they are one of the best teams in the NFL NFC. And then my question is, well, then what does it mean when they get demolished by the Dallas Cowboys, right? What does that mean when they get destroyed? And it's just, my God, it's funny because you can see, obviously Broussard is excited to give the Cowboys an F game. Nick is excited about Caleb Williams' great game. And it made no sense to have Drake May for the New England Patriots. But honestly, the most talked about game of the week for first things first was clearly the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys game. And what I'm seeing in the NFL right now, in the media all around, has been more so talking about the Dallas Cowboys losing than the Detroit Lions winning, which is kind of sad, quite frankly. It just shows you how popular the Dallas Cowboys are. Like, even Colin Cowherd opened up his show talking about the Dallas Cowboys, right? Not the Detroit Lions. And the Detroit Lions deserve the praise way more than the Dallas Cowboys deserve to have the hate. And again, I'm so excited to unpack this down more deeply because people are going to be like, well, the Dallas Cowboys were injured. The Dallas Cowboys were injured. They had injuries. And it's like, that explains some of it. The spread was 3, okay? 3.5. Even Nick Wright was saying that they were going to win. That doesn't explain losing by, my God, nearly 50 points. I mean, like, it was just wild, absolutely wild what they were doing. And none of the injuries had anything to do with the fact that they're not even ready when it's time for the Lions to snap the ball, right? Why Diggs gets absolutely burned, like that had nothing to do with it, to do with any of the injuries. And Dak Prescott was down his wide receiver too, and yet could do nothing. Right? Could do absolutely nothing. It was just throwing wildly inaccurate. Something that Tom Brady called out throughout the entire game. So, again, I will definitely unpack it more deeply. I got my notes for both teams. It was funny because when I was doing this game originally and taking notes, like, Dak looked very inaccurate from the jump. And then he kind of settled down, and I write down, like, Dak is throwing very confidently, looks good, settled down. He can throw a great ball, and then he throws that interception in the red zone. And I'm like, yep, that's the perfect drive of Dak. That is exactly who Dak is. He can throw beautiful balls, great balls, just as good as anyone out there. And then he just throws terrible balls and makes bad decisions. And it's just, again, we can say, and this is where it's always funny, because a Detroit Lions fan actually commented and was like, well, what do you want Dak to do? They don't have, he has no run game, no weapons. Nobody would do good in this situation. And again, it's like, well, then where do you want the argument to fall? Because going into this season, a lot of Cowboys fans were saying this team is a top contender, that they are a great team. And offensively, they're going to be great. That's why they were celebrating everything by beating the Browns, and they were celebrating beating the Steelers and celebrating beating the Giants. And I was like, this team is not that good, not that good. Then when they lose, and then when they can't do good, they go, well, what do you want Dak to do? He has no run game. It's like, but that's what we were talking about going into this season. We said that they're not good enough. We weren't saying Dak's not good enough. We were saying that Dak's not good enough to overcome these issues, which again, people took as an insult. And it's just like, so which truth do you want it to be? That the Dallas Cowboys were never that good, right? Or do you want to lie to yourself and say, no, they were that good, but then they had some injuries and now their run game, like you understand, you're twisting yourself into knots. Is how it all unfolds in that way. You have to be honest about the situation, is that the Cowboys were never that good going into this season, as proven as to how the games unfolded. When you wanted to praise them for their unbelievable victories against, say, the Cleveland Browns, and the only reason why I'm even reacting the way I'm reacting is because I got so much hate. I said, guys, the Cleveland Browns are not really that good of a team. I was like, guys, what are you celebrating? That Giants game was not that really good of a win. Neither were the Steelers, and guys hated me. And they're like, yes, they were. That was amazing. If those games were amazing and shown how great the Cowboys are, then what does this game show? What does this game show? And I know the Cowboys fans hate other teams, especially the Eagles and the 49ers. And they were making fun of Brock Purdy because he's like, oh, Brock Purdy, what can Brock Purdy do when he doesn't have the Avengers? He looked a lot better than Dak did. Certainly looked a lot better than Dak did, right? The Eagles lost to the Buccaneers because they had their own injuries. Certainly didn't look as bad as this one, right? So it's just, you just got to be honest with the team right now. The Cowboys are just an okay team. They're just an average team right now. They're not great. Dak is not this elite quarterback, right? He's not on the level of Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, right? He's not. And he does need a great team around him. He needs an awesome team around him. He needs like a 49ers team around him. He needs an unbelievable coach. He can't overcome okay coaching. He can't overcome, because he still has CeeDee Lamb. Still has one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. The offensive line is not just the worst offensive line ever, but it was like Travis O'Shea pointed out that this offensive line is not going to be as good as it was last year. And the run game is nothing, which again, Nick Wright tried to act, oh, that run game's going to be fine. They can pick up anyone and they're going to be able to, he goes, I guarantee you this run game will be fine. They'll average 100 yards a game, yada, yada, yada. And we were like, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Well, proved to be what I was saying was true, and what Travis O'Shea was saying was true, and JCT Slice and any of the other people who watch this channel a lot who were not biased. They're also Dallas Cowboys fans, by the way. I've referenced JCT Slice and Travis O'Shea. They were legitimate Dallas Cowboys fans, but they understand who their team is. And yeah, I don't even want to slam on the Cowboys, quite frankly, because I even defended them going into this game. I even said, hey, this is definitely going to be a really hard game, but I want to see what Dak can at least do offensively. And he did not show up offensively. Those turnovers, right? His interceptions have nothing to do with a lack of run game, an offensive line, or not enough weapons. They were just fundamentally bad throws, okay? That's what they were. It had nothing to do with injuries on defense. It had nothing to do with any of that. Those were just bad throws, bad plays. There's just no other way to look at it, right? I mean, it's not like, because again, and that's why you got to be consistent with the celebration. If you're going to celebrate an average win as a big time win, as an over the top, that's who we are win, but then you got to be honest when you get dominated. You got to do, there's no other way to explain it, because I even tried to look at this from different perspectives, and sometimes you can have a lopsided win or a lopsided loss, and you can explain it. You could say, well, Dak was, he handed the ball off to Ezekiel Elliott, and he fumbled it on their own 7, which then the line scooped up. Like, what do you want Dak and the Cowboys to do? That's just that's just a bad luck. A blocked punt that was then returned for a touchdown, right? They were rolling, and then CD had it, but it went off his shoulder pad and went in the air, and then it was intercepted, right? Like, you could explain those moments. You absolutely could. And you could say, the way this game unfolded was just bad luck. Yeah, it was bad play, but also a lot of bad luck. Then the game got away from them and there was nothing they could do. That was not the situation here. And the Detroit Lions are not known to have this dominant offense. Even with the Cowboys being injured, you have to imagine that they're going to have a better offense than whatever the heck the Rams had when Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and no offensive line went down, right? I know the Cowboys don't like the Buccaneers. They don't think the Buccaneers are good. You have to imagine, don't you think that you have a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield? Isn't CeeDee Lamb better than their wide receivers? Like, you believe that as a Cowboys fan, and yet the Buccaneers played better against the Detroit Lions. Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals offensively played better. Who do you think is a better quarterback, Dak Prescott or Kyler Murray? Who do you think is a better wide receiver, CD or a rookie wide receiver with the Cardinals? Like, that's the way you kind of have to look at it. Geno Smith and that offense, he has a terrible offensive line. He's got DK Metcalf and Geno Smith, who's getting paid like $25 million a year, whatever the heck his contract is. Their offense looked significantly better. So you're going to tell me that Dak Prescott, the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, can't do better than Geno Smith? You're going to say, he doesn't have any help? What does Geno Smith have? Who does Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals have? Doesn't make sense. If Dak Prescott is as elite and as top level as you think, you would expect that team to be better. You just would. And if you're saying, they don't have the help, then you're admitting that one, Dak Prescott's not good enough, and two, that this team was never as good as you thought. Just the way it goes, man. Just the way it goes. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Dallas Cowboys versus the Detroit Lions? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.